Okay, so I want to keep the series of this series of videos succinct. I don't want to be too wordy because I mean we have gone through all these skills, all these topics in the previous videos, and I hope you have been watching these videos and going through all the exercises. Okay, so you understand what's going on. Now, I'm going to point out some main points, of course, and common mistakes, and of course, the errors that people tend to make. Okay. The first and foremost thing that I'm going to mention here is that you've got to be really good with factoring. You've got to be very good with factoring. Okay. To be very honest, you are going to see, like, not just for this test, but in the future, and whether it's near future or farther future, you are going to see plenty of these quadratic equations. And yeah, you need to be ready for these kind of factoring. So that's one thing. Okay. Now, but the other thing I want to point out is that let me see how I can break it down for you here. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at number 4. Now, for number 4, it is going to be x plus 9 and x plus 2. Okay, that's it. Now, it happens to some students that they go beyond this step. And unfortunately, it is not going above and beyond. It is actually going somewhere they're not supposed to go. Now, and what I'm going to illustrate here is a quite common mistake, and I want to see if you know what's happening. Now, the instruction here is that you are just asked to factor, just simplify it, okay? Now, some students, now, this is what they do. First, they don't write an equal sign, and they do this. And then, now, and then they will remember something, and then they would think they would do the same thing. They would do the right thing, and they would just go ahead and say, oh, this is going to happen. And then they would say, oh, yeah, that's the answer. Okay. All right. Now, can you see what the problem is? I want to see if you can see the problem. Now, if you have been listening and following my advice in my lessons, I make sure that everybody knows what it means to solve. Okay, again, solve means to find a value or values that would make the statement true. Now, what this student is doing is to solve for the value of x. But there is not an equation that it's gonna say, oh, please make sure that you find an x value that would make the statement true. No, nothing. Like, there is nothing right here that sets equal to 0. No, none whatsoever. So this kind of terrible mistake, it happens to who? It happens to students who have been either cramping the night before, they did some of the work, but they're not really understanding what they're doing, myself included when I was young, okay? And they memorize what to do, and they memorize that there was something like this, you factor, and then you set it equal to 0. But why do they set it equal to 0? They don't know. They just don't know. And that's why they make all these mistakes, okay? So I want to make sure that this whole thing, it should never exist. They should never exist at the first place, because we are not trying to solve for anything. We're just trying to factor. Okay, we're just trying to factor and say, oh, x squared plus 11x plus 18 equals to what? Oh, equals to these two things multiplying together. That's all. Simple, easy. Okay, but please do not make those mistakes. You solve them when you are asked to solve, like this case. Okay, so it's really about the meaning part of math that Okay, if you are not speaking in your mind, if you are not using words to describe the math processes, you ultimately hurt yourself. Like, you are going to work so hard to prepare, and yet you lose all the points because why? You're memorizing. Okay, and again, I'm saying all these because I was like this. That's why I knew what it felt like. Okay, and it makes me angry to see myself in front of me in my students. So of course I want to try to make sure that none of my students would be like me in the past. Okay, not the old me. Okay, so please, okay, why am I telling you, hey, do you know the meaning of solve? I really hope that you keep telling yourself. I hope that by repeating this over and over again in lessons, it somehow would stick in your mind. Solve means what? Find the values to make the statement true. Why are we solving here? Because we need to make sure that the equation is true. Why aren't we solving here? Because there's nothing to solve. It's not an equation. None of these are equations. There's nothing, there's simply nothing to solve. Okay? So so please make sure. Okay, that's my first thing I want to talk about. Okay, next video I'll talk about something more. Okay, I'll talk about some factoring issues.